All right, let's dive into one of the most incredible, maybe even world-changing technologies out there right now. Generative AI. Seriously, this is the stuff behind all that crazy AI art, those super smart chatbots, and it is moving so much faster than anyone thought possible. So let's break down what it is, how it works, and why it is such a massive deal. I want to start with a pretty wild question. What if a machine could do more than just calculate numbers? What if it could create? I mean, not just analyze stuff that already exists, but actually dream up something totally new. Well, that is the big promise of generative AI. And guess what? It's not science fiction, it's happening as we speak. And you know what? You've almost certainly seen it, maybe even used it yourself. If you've ever had your mind blown by a response from ChatGPT, or if you've seen one of those jaw-dropping images from DALL-E, Midjourney, or Stable Diffusion, yep, you've seen generative AI in action. These tools have basically put this unbelievably complex tech right at our fingertips. So let's get down to basics. What exactly is it? Well, most AI that we've known for years is all about analyzing data that's already there. Spotting trends, classifying images. But generative AI, it flips the script. It's all about making something brand new. Its whole job is to generate original content that has literally never existed before. That's why we're calling it the new creative machine. So let's talk about what this machine can actually, well, make. And the range is just staggering. We're talking about everything from writing an email that sounds just like you, to composing a piece of music, creating a photorealistic image from just a silly sentence, and even writing lines of computer code that actually work. It's like a digital artist, writer, and programmer all rolled into one. Okay, so the output is amazing, we get that, but how? How does a machine learn to be creative? It feels like magic, right? Well, let's pull back the curtain and take a look inside the AI's mind. At the very heart of all this are these incredibly complex systems called neural networks. You can kind of think of them as being loosely inspired by the human brain. And to really get how this stuff creates images and text, we're going to look at a couple of key models that are absolute game changers. First up, for making images, we have something called Generative Adversarial Networks, or GANs for short. And the idea here is just brilliant. Picture a duel between two AIs. You've got one called the creator, and its only job is to create a fake image that looks real. Then you have the critic, whose only job is to spot the fake. They go back and forth, round after round, constantly trying to outsmart each other. And through this digital battle, the creator gets unbelievably good at making realistic fakes. Now, let's talk about another way to make images, the one that powers tools like DALL-E. This is called a diffusion model. It's a totally different approach. It starts with just a screen of random static, think old-school TV snow, just pure noise. Then, using your text description as its map, it slowly, carefully refines that noise, bit by bit, until a stunning, detailed image emerges. It's really like watching a sculptor chip away at a block of marble to reveal a masterpiece inside. Okay, so that's how we get these incredible images. But what about writing? What about language? Well, for that, we need a different piece of tech entirely, the Generative Pre-trained Transformer, which you probably know as GPT. Right, so these are the big ones, the large language models, or LLMs, like GPT-4. They are trained on a truly mind-boggling amount of text from the internet. At its core, an LLM is a super sophisticated prediction machine. It doesn't think like a person, but it's gotten incredibly good at one thing, predicting the most likely next word in a sentence. By just doing that over and over and over again, it can write paragraphs, articles, and power everything from the chatbots you talk to tools that help programmers write code. So now that we have a feel for how it works, let's get to the big question: why does any of this matter? I mean, beyond being a really cool party trick, this technology is already starting to transform our world in some really deep ways. And the impact is just massive. It's happening all over the place. It's completely shaking up creative fields for sure, but it's also letting businesses create super personalized experiences for customers. And it's making companies way more efficient by automating all those boring tasks, like writing up documentation or creating first drafts of designs. But you know the saying, right? With great power comes great responsibility. And this isn't just a powerful tool. It's a disruptive force. So what's the catch? What are the problems we really need to think about? And that brings us to the last and maybe the most important part of this whole conversation, because this technology is a double-edged sword, and it's forcing us to ask some really tough questions about the future.
And these are not easy questions. Like, who owns a piece of art made by an AI? That's a huge debate about intellectual property. When you can create a realistic fake photo in seconds, how do we possibly fight misinformation? And on a deeper level, what even is real anymore? When does authenticity matter? These are the huge dilemmas that we have to figure out, and they're going to require some really careful, responsible thinking.
So here's the bottom line. Generative AI is here, and it's not going anywhere. The genie is well and truly out of the bottle. So the real question, for all of us, is how are we going to choose to use our wishes?